Singh, Additional Director, General Foreign Trade. Mr. D.K. Singh, Additional Director, General Foreign Trade. Mr. Sandeep Kumar, Commissioner of Customs. Mr. Guru Prasad Mohapatra, Joint Secretary, Commerce, Ministry of Commerce. Mr. Pramod Sant, Senior Vice President, Siemens Limited. Captain Deepak Tiwari, CEO, MSC Agencies India Private Limited. Mr. Manoj Singh, Vice President, Mumbai International Airport Limited. Mr. David Phillips, President, National Association of Freight and Logistics, UAE. Mr. Sudhakar Kasture, Helpline Impex Private Limited. Mr. Rajesh Ghosalia, and Mr. Shantanu Bhadkamkar, the moderator of the panel discussion. Requesting Mr. Shantanu to please felicitate Mr. D.K. Singh, Mr. Sandeep Kumar, Mr. D.K. Singh. Mr. Sandeep Kumar. Mr. Guru Prasad Mohapatra. Mr. Pramod Sant. Captain Deepak Tiwari. Mr. Manoj Singh. Mr. David Phillips. And Mr. Sudhakar Kasture. Gentlemen, if we could now start the panel discussion.
Good afternoon, friends. One advantage of feliciting the speakers in advantage is it allows the delegates the time to come in and listen to more what they have to speak. Couple of years back, we had a meeting with the Revenue Secretary. He always used to be patient and considerate with us. During the discussion, he said, "Tell me one single thing you want for your industry." And our response was, we want manufacturing to grow. Our industry is strongly driven by growth in manufacturing, be it import, be it export. To cite an example, Nhava Sheva, if we went 20 years back, we don't have exact statistics, but import of actual user, manufacturer, importer was more than 90%. Could be 95, but was surely more than 90%. Last year when we had been to Nhava Sheva and we could get these statistics from the additional commissioner, importer traders were importing 55% at Nhava Sheva and manufacturer importer had dropped to 45%. We have also seen last year as a percentage of GDP, manufacturing has dropped by 1%. From 18% it came down to 17%. And which is why we all are welcoming the Make in India initiative of Government of India. It is perhaps the single most talked about concept or initiative or policy of the government. Of course, it's linked with other things such as infrastructure development, it's linked with ease of doing business and such initiatives. But primarily Make in India is at center stage, and that's why this is a very important session. The theme also speaks about adapting. As custom brokers, as forwarders, we have always adapted to changes. We have adapted to liberalization, and before that also there have been phases where we have shown we are adapting. Now this will be a new kind of internalization, and we have to understand how do we adapt to it the best. And we have a jumbo cabinet to address this. We have very eminent personalities to address us. And all of them have been very kind to say that their introduction should be extremely brief. So I will start with the first speaker. The theme is Make in India. So the first speaker is from the manufacturing sector. Mr. Pramod Santa represents the manufacturing sector. He is a vice president in Siemens. And Mr. Santa will talk about customer expectations. The format is, we have a big panel, so the format is each speaker gets 5 minutes. After that, I may ask a question or clarification. After this is over, we will have panelists giving some explanation, and then we will have enough time for floor interaction. We are expecting good amount of floor interaction in this session. So we have kept lot of time for floor interaction. So with this, Pramod, please take over. And I don't think Pramod needs an introduction. I think he's been with us for the 4th time now.
Thank you, Shantanu. And thanks for this opportunity as a manufacturer to give our wish list or our need, really, I will say. So Siemens being a manufacturer in India, and we are one of the multinational who have got close to around 23 factories in India, employing around 8,000 people. So we say that we are a manufacturing company. So when it comes that Make in India, when we say come, Make in India, what is that we are offering to global manufacturers or others? This is a very important question, because when you call somebody and say that come in my country, manufacture it, we are giving you facilities, will give you this, that, where do we stand on reality? The one indicator is the index of ease of doing business. The India ranks 142 in the 189 countries. Whom we are competing for manufacturing? We know China, we know Brazil, maybe Mexico, South Africa. So where are we standing in these BRIC countries? We are one of the last. So ease of doing business includes many things. We will not touch upon that, but it right from acquiring land to acquiring electricity, permission, etc. Being a supply chain and logistic fraternity, I will concentrate on the trading across the border. This is important because what we do here, community here, custom brokers, freight forwarder, we take the material from one country, bring it to India, or we move within India, or from India we send it abroad. So what is our rank in trading across the borders? We are 126. And again, all the other countries which I mentioned where we are competing for manufacturing, they are ahead of us. So if we look at the first, we are started on the little weak ground. Only good thing, I will be telling you reality, but I will tell you also optimism. These ranks are produced several years. These ranks are published. It comes somewhere in newspaper. But it is first time that India took it seriously. This government has taken it seriously. First time they talked about how this rank is arrived. In some areas we have already registered our protest that, okay, this is not a right rank. somewhere we are doing cautious efforts to change this rank. So this is what is happening. Now trading across border, which has got many things. When you deal with manufacturing in India and you want to supply to globally, what is required? I will give our own examples. Last year in July, Make in India was still away. We shifted some of the products from Berlin to Goa factory, which was making smaller quantities for global. The first customer requirement is on time. They want from order to receipt or landing in that country in 10 working days. So you can imagine that I have to manufacture quality product, ship it, and it should land into that country in 10 working days. We started with 20 countries first, which is going to go to 45, and finally we will be dealing with 65 countries. And against that 10 days, our time was, first month was 22 days. And you know the challenge. If I have to move product from Goa internationally, I have issues. I have infrastructure issues. I have the logistics issues, the timing, everywhere. So these expectations are clear. When somebody is going to give you business in India, they are going to demand for meeting the world competition. The low price is definitely quality product, it is must. But on logistic fronts, when they say trading across borders, means the papers, number of papers which I am moving, the time for import, time for export, cost of exports, these are all the challenging items, and on all that we are having today lower score. There are few other points which are like infrastructure. Infrastructure, I think we have colleagues who will talk about infrastructure. Policy, we have colleagues who will speak more on to policy or what is the requirement. But I will touch upon two important points. One is a trade facilitation. This is the most important, that the industry should feel that this infrastructure, this policy, this strategy, procedures, they are trade friendly. How this trade friendliness is determined? If you look at World Customs Organization, they have told that there are 35 areas in which government should be able to help the trade. Simple rules, policies, timely implementation, dispute resolves, etc. There are quite a few things. So the trade facilitation is going to be key important. Another most important point which I will touch is a skill development. If you are talking a manufacturer in India and supplying globally, you need a right skill set of people. And do we have that? We know that India has got many free trade agreements, 13 or 16 like that. But if this free trade agreement has to be used properly, then do we have a right institute? Do we have a right organizations which are able to guide the people? When you are exporting abroad, the origin determination becomes a critical issue. Do we have a right skill set of people available? Who has to teach other people to determine the right country of origin? Do we have that skill set? So these are the few points which I would like that, yes, on manufacturing, if you take a manufacturing, on quality we are able to manufacture. We have a quality, our labor costs are low, but all that makes the things. Second, one of the last point which I wanted to make is that everybody is now asking that please give us the inputs, that how we should do it, how we should progress it. My belief is that there are many studies already being done. For example, in custom area, Dr. Shom's report or CII KPMG survey, we have everything. We have a experienced, knowledgeable bureaucracy. Government has got will. So my issue is that this needs to be done, otherwise we will be never. That's all.
Thank you, Pramod. I think your strong message was now or never, because we have made a big publicity of this issue. So fine. And in fact, the question I was to ask, you already answered, is whether our manufacturers are geared for it. And you have replied in affirmative. Am I right? Right. Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Sudhakar Kasture. Mr. Kasture is a consultant on import and export policies. He is also a trainer. So Mr. Kasture, yeah, your choice.
Good afternoon, friends. Make in India, very interesting thing, require, according to me, three things. We need capital, we need technology, we need ease of doing business. When it comes to capital, let's hope it will come. When it comes to infrastructure development, it will take some time. We need to remove inefficiencies in our supply chain. That will also take some time. What can immediately be done is ease of doing business. And I have a few points to tell you on this particular issue. Number one, how many documents can we reduce? According to me, 4 documents are enough for import-export trade. Bill of entry, bill of lading, shipping bill, and invoice. If government wants, let them do away with all the documents. 50% work will automatically come down. Our country is like a country, like a, undivided joint family. So we agree on many things at certain occasions, like marriage, where we normally don't have difference of opinion. But otherwise, on small issues, we always have difference of opinion. Again, the second request is, can we sort out the difference of opinion in the functionaries, in the government functionaries? A thought came to my mind. There are signs abroad. Can I help you? May I help you? In India, we require a different kind of a sign in government department, which should say, I would like to help you. Unless until we change the attitude, we are not going to have ease of doing business. We need deepening. My study shows out of total 96 commodities, I exclude 3. Project import I exclude, 99 personal imports I exclude, and chapter 77 I exclude. If I take 96 chapters, there are only 8 chapters where India has registered more than $10 billion performance on an annualized basis. So there are almost 74 commodities where our exports are less than 10 billion. If you consider this figure with total $18,000 billion worth of world exports, where are we? So our export base is not deepened. We need to do that. Import situation is further bad. 20 commodities account for 90% of our import bill. And then we have FTAs. We have new RCEP coming. Countries like ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand, China, Japan, Korea. All of them are looking at India, not for developing competitiveness of India, but to gain market access in India, we need to do reverse. We also need market access. We can't go away from FTAs. There is no possibility. So we need to negotiate them with much more sincerity. What is our population, export population per se? For a country of 126 crores, we have roughly 10 lakh import-export code numbers. Only 10 lakh entities are engaged in exports. We need to widen this base. This policy has created one issue, e-commerce exports, less than 25,000, which will expand the base of exporters, and every single person can be part and parcel of the export activity. And then we need development of skill sets. There is absolute dearth of this. I run an institute, I know how difficult it is and what exactly we teach, what exactly we groom people for, and how much they succeed. These are all questions we need to ask ourselves. If we have to increase our exports, and it's imperative, there is nothing else that we can do. And if we have to do this, we have to do something better. This century is governed by 2 principles. Number 1, technology. Number 2, communication. Let me ask you a question. How many of you buy goods online? Are you sure goods are of Indian origin? So Ganesh idol which comes to you probably made in China, and a Ganesh with silver lining comes from Thailand. We are contributing to imports. Now, how many Indian small and medium enterprises are reflecting in e-commerce business? We need to bring them into this business. We need to develop their skill sets. And unless until we do that, our base will not be expanded. If our base is not expanded, which is not good for us. The last point I would like to touch upon is the system. the ecosystem as we talk of. This policy has a lot of good initiatives on these issues. But all good initiatives need to be implemented. And I would just like to give you one single example. When you buy something using a credit card, how much time it takes to get the report on your mobile? Now just think of how many million users of credit cards, how many institutions offering credit cards, and how many spaces where you can use the credit card. If that information can be conveyed to you within, let's say, less than a minute, what is so difficult in compiling the information related to imports and exports and putting it on the website? What is so difficult? If this country has that kind of a base to support systems, why can't our government look into developing robust systems? And I would suggest one thing: you charge 1,000 rupees per exporter, they'll happily give. And don't give me any incentive, I would be more than happy. Only sort out my systemic problems. Let that ease of doing business with possible means. I'm not talking of impossible means. I'm not saying you improve the infrastructure within 1 year or so, but things which can be done very easily, if that can be looked into, probably yes, because at the end of the day, I cannot be happy seeing the picture of a pizza. I have to eat the pizza, and that pizza has to be delivered. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kasture. I think you brought out a very important point, that it's not incentives and rebates that matter. It's allowing us to do freedom with ease and equal opportunity with other countries. I think that's what we look forward to. Thanks for bringing that point. Our next speaker is a very eminent personality. He can be a role model for many of us. He is an Indian multinational. He is Indian by birth, went to Dubai, and has come out to be one of the biggest forwarder over there, having offices in 17 countries. So Mr. David Philip will give an insider who has gone outside. So it's an outsider view of an insider. So David.
Good afternoon, everybody. The last little speech was I think, woke everybody up who was asleep after that lovely lunch. My view on Make in India is a little different in the sense that I want to bring a different perspective to what everybody is hyping about. I'll sometimes play a devil's advocate, which I think is necessary to shake people into reality. And the reason I do that is because as much as each one of you all want India the Make in India plan to succeed, I share equally or more in that passion. I went to Dubai in 1981, and so I have actually seen Dubai come out of the sand, not out of the ground, but out of the sand. One thing that struck me when I went in the first few months was, why does everything work in Dubai? Why is it an international hub? At that time it was a regional hub. Why is it a hub? Why do all the shipping lines want to come to Dubai? And I came up with my own conclusion, which I still keep telling everybody, and that is Dubai found itself a niche to become very efficient because it was surrounded by inefficient neighbors, India being one of them. The rest of the GCC being all around Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. Those neighbors have today become a lot more efficient. But Dubai still remains and has grown from a regional hub to an international hub because they innovated. They found ways to do things. And when we introspect and I look at that country and I say, you know, why is it still so successful in that space? I think policy drives everything. There is no argument against the hard infrastructure that Dubai has, the ports, the airports, the roads, the railways, the train, the metro, it's outstanding. But there is no value in having hard infrastructure if you do not have soft infrastructure. And soft infrastructure is the enabler of business, the enabler of making that hard infrastructure work. I think India has a wonderful opportunity. It has to revolve around the soft infrastructure. We talked about our LPI standing at in the 140s out of 160 or 180. There will be no make in India at that level. We talk of exports. I hear numbers of 750 billion in the year. I've seen two reports, 17, 18, 18, 19, and 2020, that India's exports will be 750 billion. When we talk of make in India, are we only talking about exports? I think not. I think GST will bring a huge different meaning to make in India because goods will be consumed in India. More than 50% of the e-commerce business transacted in India are imports from other countries, satisfying a consumer's need within this country. E-commerce is about quick delivery of goods at a very competitive price. If India can manufacture that here and deliver it seamlessly through the country because of a very friendly tax regime, those goods will be manufactured here. So there's a lot of learning to be done. Make in India is a wonderful slogan for everybody to rally behind, but I think the work has only just started. I recall more than 20, 25 years ago when the sea air traffic started over Dubai. And it started because the airports of Bombay were congested and cargo was sitting on the tarmac for 15 days. They had to get it into Europe at Christmas or whatever, and we said that airlines come into Dubai and their bellies are empty going back because it's an import economy. Why can't we try and get these goods into Dubai and then put it on an aircraft and send it out at a rate that is cheaper than air freight from India, but faster than ocean freight? So we went to customs, and one of my gurus, Mr. Isa Baluch, I think whose son is here today, we went to the customs and we talked to the customs and said, we have this plan. Do you think it's going to work? He picked up the phone, talked to some authorities. That was the ruler at that time, Sheikh Rashid. And Sheikh Rashid said, how many tons do you think we're going to get? We said, we try about 100 tons a month. 2 months later, we did 3,000 tons. And the goods were transferred from the port to the airport in half a day. So the point I'm making, and I can hear the jingle going there, that I need to end, is it's a great slogan. I think there's an opportunity for the FFAI to take these 3 days deliberations to the North Block, to Delhi, make representations as to what the freight forwarding logistics group needs to be doing to be part of Make in India. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
David, as you sit, I have a question for you. See, you brought an issue about the growth of Dubai was based on inefficiencies, inadequacies, or woes of the problems of the countries in the region. Equally, I think Dubai has shown vision of putting infrastructure 10 years ahead of requirement. So with that perspective, what do you see India do?
Dubai thinks 20 years ahead, not 10. They actually put infrastructure 20 years, but they put policy before infrastructure to make sure that that infrastructure is used. I left India in 1981, and the only thing we talk about not working in India is infrastructure. And if the infrastructure did work, we would find something else to talk about. But has India moved forward? Leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds it has moved forward. And will infrastructure, in my opinion, infrastructure will always play catch up. Because our requirements and our demands as an industry or a bunch of people will always exceed what we currently have. And that's good. because we'll be pushing that barrier to get it better. So they'll always play catch. It will never be up to speed. But we'll always get better too.
Thanks, David. So you are putting policy before infrastructure. Thanks for your perspective. And right on that issue, we come to Mr. D.K. Singh. He is IAS from Kerala Cadre. He is in DGFT. And I think he will also touch on an important aspect Mr. Kasture left us with, that we just have 10 lakh IEC codes for a country of 130 crores. So Mr. D.K. Singh will address us on foreign trade policy, and he will touch on the internalization or entrepreneurship in that segment. He will also talk about how DGFT can facilitate more than what we expect with help desk and other schemes. Mr. D.K. Singh.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really happy to come to Bombay and share some of my thoughts. And I was always looking for to have some time to exchange our thoughts, especially with you people who are representing the real cutting edge of our trading across border. What you do that becomes a source of information for me or in DGFT for us to make policy interventions. India is a big country. We have many exporters, but active exporter and importers are 3,18,000 only. So it is a very small number. And how much records are generated by these exporters? Around 1.76 crores records, including shipping bill and bill of entry during 14-15, and 1.64 crores during the last year. It means there is a very small change, and if we analyze the value of each transaction, the value of transactions is coming down. What does it indicate? Indicates that there is there could be global slowdown in the international market. Number two, our manufacturers are producing in a smaller quantity and sending. Therefore, the per unit transaction of a shipping bill or a bill of entry is coming down. Now, do you think that with these numbers, India is going to have a figure of say 900 billion US dollar, which we have projected in our this FTP released on 1st of April? No, we have to grow and we have to break these present cycles of 300 and 310 billion dollar every year. What we are going to have every year, we have a stagnant export. I would say it is just a stagnant exports. We are stagnating at 300 or 310, 312, 314. So if you have to break this, you must have new entrepreneurs, new people joining manufacturing process. You produce and you consume in domestic market, and if you have surplus, you must export. For that purpose, we devised this, Niryat Bandhu scheme, where we are focusing on more than 108 SMEs clusters across the India, and we are looking for industry partners and knowledge partners to associate with DGFT in our efforts to go to these clusters, handhold them and tell what are the ways to do international trade. Now, the second question which was raised by Mr. Kasture about growing e-commerce and sharing of information or collecting information electronically and the government's failure in, adopting such technology. We have some limitations. The data comes to DGCIS from 127 EDI ports, 225 SEZ ports, and 96 manual ports. Still we have 96 manual ports. Now data from SEZ comes on a monthly basis. Data from IceGate comes on a daily basis. So once the data comes on a monthly basis, by the end of the month, it takes around 3 to 4 days to come. But once you analyze, you start analyzing the data, you realize the problem. Problem is that you are exporting mangoes. And if you are exporting mangoes, somebody is writing 10 boxes of mangoes, somebody is writing 10 kgs of mangoes. I don't know in one box how many kgs are kept. If we adopt a uniform system of reporting in standard units, our life will be much simpler. In textile, if you see chapter 61, 62, we have so many 36 types of reporting systems. Square meter, number of pieces, again number of boxes, and it's just difficult to analyze all such data in such a limited time and make in a presentable shape. The second problem which we are facing, because when I was making policy for granting incentive, I was asking for, you give me data on this code, what is the volume, what is the quantity, and then we are, getting these problems. The second problem is about ITCHs. Now in 6% of cases, ITCHs are not correctly reflected on the shipping bill or the bill of entry. The description is something different and code is different. So this has to be corrected before entering into the final system. Third is that, in one shipping bill there could be multiple items. Now there is a tendency, I do not know how to explain it, probably you will be able to explain it, why we have in one shipping bill more than 100 items. What are the compelling factors of trade which are compelling to have a single shipping bill having different items? So these are the issues where you as a grassroots administrator, you people can really help, handhold people and really help the trade to grow. Now I have two small suggestions and I requesting you to consider. One is to have a call center where any new exporter, if a call can give some doubts and somebody can help him. What are the regulations required for exporting some item or importing certain items? Number two, could there be a structured mechanism to build their capacities? Now this is the age of standards, this is the age of quality, and in order to compete in international trade, probably there is a need to have better skills. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we will take up your suggestions of call structure, and structured dialogue is of course very important, and Sandeep ji will also take it up later on. He has good suggestions on it. I have a couple of small questions. One is, we said what really concerned me is value of each transaction is coming down. Is it in rupee terms or SDR terms or dollar terms? Means how do we evaluate it?
This is in dollar terms. If you analyze the number of shipping bills and value term in dollars, and then you take out an average. So there are, if you leave this our gems and jewelry sector or petroleum sector, which has high numbers. So if you exclude these sectors, then in real terms, value terms, the number is coming down.
It's not impact of other currencies getting weaker in terms of dollar, because we have seen all other currencies have become weaker.
This could be one of the factor, because especially euro. Now 18% of our export is going to Europe. But 18% of our trade is not in euro. our trade, we analyzed the data of EBRC, which we are getting electronically, and we realized that 85% of realization is dollar. And then, about 8 to 9% is in euro, and rest balance is in all other currencies. So in real terms, how much, weakening of euro is really affecting us is a different story. Though our exports to Europe is 18%.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sandeep Kumar is Joint Secretary in CBEC. He is also Commissioner of Customs. He will talk about our favorite issues. One is reforms, second is institutionalization of dialogue for people in exempt trade. Mr. Sandeep Kumar.
Thank you very much, Shantanu-ji. Ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to you. Delighted to be here. And delighted to be participating in a theme, I think, which is very dear to our hearts. Make in India, I think, is an idea whose time has come. India has never probably been as ripe for this concept as it is, and I really hope that it brings the private sector, government on the same page, and we are able to make some rapid progress and meet industry expectations. When I look at our strengths, I think for any national perspective, drawing a balance sheet is very important. When I look at our strengths, I think the entrepreneurial strength that India and Indians have shown globally, that I think there is so much evidence I don't have to say about it. Another huge strength that India has is market size. Yet I find there is a significant debate about whether make in India or make for India, and it's in public space. There is a lot being said about both words. Honestly, make in India includes make for India. The important point is whether India needs to be very export-centric and export-driven kind of growth, or are we looking at a huge domestic market which all the international players are eyeing to get their toehold into this international market. This is one of our biggest strengths, and we need to leverage that. And I think that that will be the single driving factor behind the success of Make in India. When we look at our entrepreneurial skills, we've come a long way from where we were in so many years, which is a matter of pride for all of us. And going forward, I think business community, as I gathered when my colleagues here spoke, is looking at a different regulatory environment. They're looking at a regulatory environment which has speed, which has transparency, and which is, I would say, a very conducive and consistent environment. If we are to look for consistency, look for speed, look for transparency, the most important thing that we need is an institutional framework for business and government to talk and work out areas of focus which need reform. I have mentioned to your executive committee members whenever they have visited North Block that they do not visit North Block enough. I am, in fact, I'd given a heads up to Rajesh here that I will say this, that probably your federation needs to draw some inspiration from the other chambers like FICCI, CII, ASSOCHAM, who really got their act together in terms of giving a memorandum of demands, of changes that they would like to see on tariff, non-tariff related issues just about the September, October, November, when the budget exercise is going to start. That document has a 6-month lifespan. Some things get achieved, others do not. They renew their effort. This entire exercise is therefore, has two important features. A, they're very persistent. B, they're engaging intensely with the government. In that respect, I hope that this message will be remembered, and the Federation would also similarly up their ante with the government and interact with us a little more, get more focused. The amount of knowledge that you have as a community, we'd love to draw on that knowledge. And I'm sure all of you, belong to the customs community. You know that CBEC is otherwise very firmly committed to reforms. We were one of the earliest departments which moved to a kind of a semi-paperless system, bringing in the EDI in the 90s. I would say that some of our co-regulators are way behind that curve, and you still have a very paper-driven environment in some of the other sectors. We've achieved a lot. In 2005, we brought in the risk management system. When I became Commissioner of Customs in Calcutta, it was, some very old CHAs came and called on me, and they used to tell me that when in olden times a bill of entry came to an appraiser, nobody would disturb him because he's doing appraising. It would take 2 to 3 days to appraise a paper. Consider that Nhava Sheva, which is very close to where we are and close to your heart, I think processes something like 4,000 bills of entry in a day. So I think this department has come a very, very long way, and I'm sure that we have, partnered in that progress between the customs broker community and the department. So I'm sure there's no dearth of faith on your part in terms of the commitment that CBEC has to reform. But in terms of skill, we are banking on you to be able to identify those issues, and please be patient, persist with us, and we will be able to very soon meet with industry requirements. I'd just like to, at the same time, say that while this institutional need for closer interaction is there, and some of you might, at times feel things don't move very quickly, World Bank has been mentioned here and the report has been mentioned here several times. Small anecdote. I dealt with the World Bank team. Rajesh was also with me at that time when we brought them here to Nhava Sheva. One of the members had visited Bombay about 10 years ago. I see small improvements happening every day. I probably missed them. She came back after 10 years and she was amazed at the changes at the city. That was very heartening for me. I said that, I probably do not realize how we are improving, and I'm happy that you as a foreigner are sharing this perspective with me to know that, we're moving forward. I think if you also look back and see a substantial amount of progress has been made, that gives us faith to make more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we will definitely work on the structured mechanism. There is one more issue I will like to bring to your attention is Mr. D.K. Singh mentioned about 1 crore 70 lakh records being created. We also feel custom also sits on huge amount of data. Now, are there any plans to use this data, like data mining is something very important, and some lessons can be drawn and industry can get something out of it. Do we have such plans? And now you have all over India data.
Yes, Mr. Shandu, let me tell you that the budget making exercise that goes on in North Block for so many years has not been bereft of data. It has not been done, instinctively or heuristically. All that data is mined. We run a very advanced data warehouse, which DG system manages. My colleague Vivek Chaturvedi is in charge of that. There is a huge amount of disaggregated analysis that is done within the department. But as far as the data is concerned, the rules of business are that the Directorate General of Commercial Intelligence and Stats in Calcutta, they get a dump from us daily, as Mr. Singh mentioned, and they put that data out in terms of our trade statistics. The mining in terms of policy inputs and what we do, yes, that doesn't probably come out so much in the public domain as a published data, but be assured that it is done very minutely. Thank you.
Sir, what I asked is for the businesses to use this data. For example, certain things are being imported in a big quantity. It could be an indication for Indian manufacturers to take a look.
Well, DG Systems is putting out data on a 7-day basis, and interestingly, some innovative entrepreneurial skills in India have started mining that data and selling it as a service. Having said that, well, that information, in fact, I also sometimes simply Google it and use, and Zoba and some other company, they actually hold that data. So otherwise, DG Systems puts out that data every 7 days, and it's free of cost and it's open in the public domain.
Thank you, sir.
Just I would like to add, there is a portal known as National Data Portal, and on that portal, DGFT has placed certain data on community-wise, HS code-wise, and for the last 2-3 years, export and import. Then the second type of data we have given port-wise. We actually analyzed port-wise, commodities-wise data, and that data is also placed on that website. So, and it is in a downloadable, when you can download in Excel or and you can really work on it. So that data is, one set is available. The second data is our export import data bank, which is available on the website of DGFT as well as the Department of Commerce. So this data is available at the time lag of 3 months. It is available on the Department of Commerce website also. So probably this can be used, which is freely available. And those who want to have real data with a 1 month's time lag, then they have to pay from DGCIS on a nominal charge. They charge, I think, 1 rupee per data and all that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for supplementing. Now from regulatory, first we started with expectations, what are happening. We came to the regulatory and policy aspects. We will now move to infrastructure aspect of Make in India. Mr. Guru Prasad Mahapatra is IAS from Gujarat cadre. Presently he is in Commerce Ministry, and he is going to make a presentation on INSTC and what it offers to us and the manufacturing sector.
Thank you, Chairman, and my eminent co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Once you make enough in India, once you make in India and you make enough to take care of the domestic consumption, then you need to export it. And that's where export infrastructure comes into place. Today I am going to speak to you about a new trade route that we are now trying to popularize, which will improve the trade between India and the CIS countries. As we all know, Soviet Union after its breakup is now a Commonwealth of independent states of 12 countries, which includes Russia, all the Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Ukraine, and countries like Armenia, and Azerbaijan. These are the some 12 CIS countries. Though strategically and politically, India and the CIS countries have had excellent relationship, somehow the international trade between the two is very less. You will be surprised to know that the total India and CIS countries trade, export and import, in last year is around only 10 billion US dollars, whereas Russia and China trade touches around $80 billion. That's mainly because of the route now. The existing trade route between India and Russia, if you have to, since all of you are related to the export-import business, you would realize the existing trade route takes a cargo from India to Russia through JNPT to St. Petersburg by sea, and then from there by rail route to other parts of this thing. It's a journey of nearly 46 days, which means non-refrigerated containers cannot travel carrying fruits and vegetables, and the costs are also many. Hence, in 2001, India, Iran and Russia sat together to decide what will be an international north-south transport corridor, which will essentially use Iran as a conduit. So, from 2001, after that, from the original 3 signatory countries, now there are 15 signatory countries, entire CIS countries plus Turkey, Iran and Oman. And now it is, after that, the last council of the Secretariat met at Baku, and it decided that India should do a dry run along this route to take cargo to India and to Russia and CIS countries. I am very happy to share with you that the Ministry of Commerce handed this assignment to the Federation of Freight Forwarders Association, and 2 senior members of this association, they carried a 20 feet 20 feet container to 2 containers on the new route. And what are the new routes? Let's see that. The new routes are, one is from JNPT to Bandar Abbas port in south of Iran by sea, and Bandar Abbas to Baku, Azerbaijan by road, and from Baku to Moscow by railroad options. The dry run was conducted by FFAI. The route 2, second route is JNPT Mumbai to Bandar Abbas by sea, Bandar Abbas to Ahmedabad by rail, and from Ahmedabad to Astrakhan by sea across the Caspian. There is a third route also available, which is all train route from Incheborun off Tehran. A cargo can go straight from Bandar Abbas in Iran to direct to Moscow. So, but the dry run was conducted on the first 2 routes which I spoke about. As the study revealed that the distance is reduced by almost 40% time. So, there will be tremendous saving in traveling time, and there is a tremendous potential for cost savings. Currently, the cost saving does not show because there is hardly any operation on this new route. Hence, the challenge is how to make this route popular and how to increase trade on this route. There are a lot of difficulties which the study revealed. Firstly, there are no direct ships available now on this route, and the insurance facilities also for any multimodal transport which runs more than one country, the insurance facilities are also need to be created. There are no regular, in Iran, there are no regular train services from Bandar Abbas to the rest of the country, because in Iran, while the train lines are owned by the Iran Railways, the containers and the wagons and all, they are with the private operators. Iran Railways also not very cost competitive to road freights. Bandar Abbas itself is not a very efficient port, and there is no EDI facility there. Then this requires tremendous coordination between customs, railways, regulatory authorities of all 12 countries, because the goods are moving from one destination to another through at least 2 countries. It's going from Iran, then from Iran to Turkmenistan, and that's how there is a movement of more than one country. Hence, it would require tremendous coordination amongst the member nations. There are certain things that can be taken forward. One is to improve direct selling service from India to Bandar Abbas, rather than, because most ships first go to India to Dubai and Dubai to Bandar Abbas. If it goes to India to Bandar Abbas first, the cost savings would be at least around $300 to $400 per ton will be the cost. The difference from Dubai is around $650 US dollars, and compared to $250 for this thing, and there will be tremendous cost savings in that. Then if we implement EDI there in the Bandar Abbas terminal, the turnaround time would be much faster. So hence now the decision is that we need to popularize this route. Today India occupies hardly 1% of the total trade in CIS, and considering the tremendous amount of goods and services that we can offer today, and once this route is popular, I am sure the cost savings will also be there, and the time also will be saved. There is a first international conference we are organizing through the Federation of Freight Forwarders Association in Bombay on 12th June, where we are calling people involved with trade and commerce and the governments of these 15 signatory countries to the INSCC treaty. This conference will be held at 12th June here. It will be followed by a secretariat meeting of all the CIS member countries, and which will probably lead to a kind of a permanent setup comprising of key officials from all the member countries to tide over the immediate teething difficulties which come with any new route that will be put into operation. So I am sure the entire EXIM community, all the importers, all the exporters, all the freight forwarders, the customs handling agents, they will all now talk about this new route and ensure that in the times to come, the trade which is now not prospering between India and CIS countries on account of this distance will now get reduced. Since the distance gets reduced, the trade will prosper. I am sure this is a very major initiative, and we would expect that on the 12th June deliberations, I would also see some of you on the 12th June deliberations. Thank you so much.
Sir, thank you for drawing attention on this important route. While we say it's a new route, the INSTC expert committee was founded in I think 2001 or 2002, because since then I have been a member. Why not we have a focused program for developing this route, involving not just logistics professionals, but also big players in EXIM trade, so that opportunities are created, and then next level include people from those countries. I am sure people from the businesses from those countries are as keen to develop business with India as we are.
No, you are very right. In fact, I went a couple of months back with the members of the Freight Forwarders Association to Iran, and I could see there is tremendous excitement about this new route. That is why we are not, in order to popularize this route, we are now calling people who are involved with trade and commerce in these countries, basically essentially importers, exporters, and people involved with the extreme trade, to the 12th June conference here. And a route like this, it has to take a lot of proactive support from the various government agencies. For example, we want Shipping Corporation of India to run more ships on this route first. So that will now bring down the cost, because once there is competition on various aspects of this route, the cost will also come down.
Other than Iran, the CIS countries should get engaged, because the trade will be mainly with CIS countries, Iran being one existing partner, in fact.
In fact, it is the CIS countries which is the focus, because as I said, India's current trade percentage of entire CIS trade is just only 1%, which is a matter of great concern for us. So that is why it is in the and plus CIS countries need a lot of things, and particularly Russia, because in the event of sanctions, Russia needs a lot of things from India. For example, fruits and vegetables. This will be the best route to take fruits and vegetables to Russia.
Thank you, sir. Shipping is an important aspect of logistics or international trade. In fact, the first level of growth in international trade came because of creation of shipping routes. And there is a very nice book on how trade changed the world, which in fact brings out a case how in the past the ship route was much faster and safer than the land route. And you heard Captain Tiwari that good shipping to Iran is very important. You are here, of course, representing all the shipping lines as CSLA or shipping lines, but Captain Tiwari, for introduction, is CEO of MSC India, a good friend of forwarders and CHAs. So now I give floor to him for sharing his thoughts.
Thank you, Shantanu. Ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. The reason I've come here is not to really give a speech. It's just that that seat was so comfortable, I would have gone off to sleep in another 2-3 seconds from now. Very quickly, Make in India and how it's going to affect shipping. In fact, I went onto the website of Make in India and shipping wasn't even mentioned. So that's where we start from, 0.